Welcome aboard, everybody. Here we go. Let's get started. Let's jump straight in here because, oh, I'm all choppy. Look at that. I'm a robot, the robot thing. I feel like there's a delay and a choppiness that shouldn't be there. I'm going to go with there's you know what? Let's just assume I'm under attack by the derp state and leave it at that. I'm just going to go with that. I mean, I'm sure there's a major internet hackage going on today because this is the day that America gets pantsed against our enemies digitally and in terms of biowarfare. Hi, chat room. Let me see if the chat's working in there. Let me start that back up again so I can see you guys. We don't know. We don't know. Okay, there's it. That's the proper one. There we go. And then are we up in this thing? Yeah, it seems like it. Ooh, everything's dragging ass today. Well, this is good. All right, so I'm gonna have to like close some windows. I know what it is. Let's just shut that. We're gonna. It's like Star Trek. I've got to shut down some power from life support systems. I've got Hal and the 5.8 on. It's not gonna give shit. Staying any rate. Yeah, I'm not going to any of that stuff. I will cover the speech and some of the stuff from last night. Today in the afternoon show, but I don't need to watch any of this shit this morning. I think it's really important that we just kind of find other stuff to talk about. And mainly it's got to be about facts. One of the things, and by the way, can you see that I have a little goose right here? Maybe not. It's right about there. There you go. If I can point to it correctly. I bonked myself in the head for comedy purposes at Sexy Liberal with the microphone and gave myself a bit of a raspberry. And I felt very proud of myself afterwards. I was like, that, ladies and gentlemen, is commitment. Maria Ali, please, let me tell you, folks, let me just start with, I will not be giving away any of my personal joy, my charm, my attention, interest, focus, skill set, away to this asshole willy-nilly. Not gonna happen. And again, like I said, being worried or depressed, and I know it's difficult for some people, but let me help you out of that a little bit because I will give you a purpose to drive you in a better direction. There is a lot to be concerned about, no question, right? But wait until you see what the actual thing is. Don't go, well, he could do any of these 9 things and worry about 8 of them. Because, and he may not even get around to the 9th. You get my point? So never, ever in a circumstance where there are potential threats, unless you can do kind of a generalized prep, which, by the way, all right, well, on that note, hold that thought, right, well, let me bring the chat room in real quick. Hi, chat room, and sorry if I'm choppy. Look at this. Oh, my camera got bumped. Chip! Look right there. Look, that's the green screen seam. What happened? There's like a big crack in my show. Hasafa! I have chopped a hole in my show. Hold on, I want to show you something. This, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, and I think that I can. Okay, so I went to DC for Sexy Liberal. It was a great time. Comedy. It was a good time had by all. And as I was going through the airport on my way out of Dodge, because we left yesterday, like all the sexy liberals basically bugged out, and I left. I'm not up on Instagram right now. I will post this later on Instagram because my laptop that does it is still packed, and there was an issue with an update. No, TikTok is not your friend. Stay off TikTok. Fuck TikTok. That never changed. I was way ahead of these idiots. And again, this is one of those areas where there's overlap between Democrats and sensible human beings and people who actually give a shit and some version of Republicans, and we should jump on all those moments and go, yeah, they're with us, because A, it will drive them crazy, and B, it's true, and C, it's a real thing, and you don't have to give up your own ethics because someone that also is awful shares one slice of them. I don't need to like throw my clock out the window because of broken clock theory on the part of some idiot like Josh Hawley, or right? Okay. Now, I'm going through the airport in DC, coming and going. Well, Baltimore technically, and there was a bunch of magazines. It used to be a thing before the internet freed us all from the need to purchase a dirty magazine in front of another person. That porn has removed basically all the magazines that used to be in airports behind a half wall. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there are these shelves in airport magazine racks where you could only see the title. You guys know what I'm talking about? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Right? Motang. You guys know exactly what I'm saying. Okay. That's gone now, because what's the point? Sometimes I will see it when I'm traveling. I will be shocked, like, oh shit, they still have that? That's still a thing, right? And it is. Like, it still exists. In some areas. Cincinnati has rules. Certain states have rules about it. Like, like there's a brown wrapper. That's exactly right. I'm watching Midas Puppies and Kitties inauguration. There's no fucking way I'm watching that. I think that's wise. So that's gone. But so I looked over and I was like, oh, they still have the shelf though, right? You have no idea, SD, right? Me neither. But they still have the shelf there, even though there's nothing behind it. But what was behind it was a couple of, magazines that maybe they're in detention. Maybe certain magazines are like, fuck these guys. Or the person at the newsstand is like, nah. Or the buyer of that magazine is like, yes, put it behind the wall. It's not for the normies. This is a magazine that only I know about. Me and Roseanne and 3 other people. And the QAnon Quarterly or whatever has to be behind this, right? This is the magazine that I found in that thing. And by the way, I don't know if many of you know this, but I have a thing about lace. I don't like lace. Some people find it sexy. I find it hard to breathe when I touch it because of the texture. This thing, you can literally use this as fine sandpaper. Like holding it is off-putting texture-wise. I'm not kidding. Like, they literally, this magazine can serve as kindling. You can make a bandage out of it. You can sand yourself some soft edges on your favorite easy chair at your hangout in the middle of fuck-ass nowhere in the middle of the woods, right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's so irritating to even hold this thing. But this was a magazine. Yeah, the ads in these things are amazing. You can use this to build a shelter. You can make a hatch. You can make a brooch. You can look at a pterodactyl flying through the air. Stop it. All right. But I found it interesting that they were like, okay, the maggots are coming to visit Trump. They love this. Like, maggots everywhere. Like, oh shit, the new copy of Prepper is out. Everyone please reread what Hal posted on houseparks.com from 2016, and Strange is perfect now. Oh, the song? Thank you, Cosmic Rose. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, if you haven't heard the single Strange, please buy it on whatever you buy songs on. If people even buy songs anymore, fuck Spotify. So these are, now, let me explain to you where we can get a little window, a little picture into the mind of maggot. The maggot mind is available to us, ladies and gentlemen. And only in this circumstance. Let's see. And by the way, I've got to give the link. So Cliff Schechter is going to be joining us in about 5-6 minutes. And then Tara will be with us in the second hour as we all avoid watching Trump's horseshit. So what does your average prepper magazine? I would think, ladies and gentlemen, I would think a prepper magazine is like how to make fire starters out of your own turds, water from nowhere, how to make yourself a cootie catcher toilet where you're in the woods and you poop in the paper and then you go, it's God, you have shit on your fingers, right? So I would think it would be sort of camping related and safety related. How to, I don't know, frontier medicine, what gangrene smells like, and how to get a jump on it, right? Yeah, by the way, this is the greatest live stream in the history of live streams, and it will remain so beyond this fucker. So, right? That's what you'd think, right? That's what you would think is in here, okay? Please tell me you five-finger discount that magazine. No, hedge enemy. No, not at all. I don't break the law just because we have lawbreakers in office. Do you understand? That was a gross image. Thank you. I worked very hard on it. I just thought that up. No. You're close, though. Bike Shop Guru is very close. Inner city survival tactics. If you had total faith in the incoming government, I don't know that you'd feel very prepperish at all. But let me show you how easy chair and lazy the preppers have become. So here's the main stories that are on the basis of this. Do you see those? What if 9/11 fails? What if 911 fails? Finding drinkable water in the city. Evaluating your next move. And prepping with Sarge interview. Okay, it's got an interview. That's wonderful. Wait a minute. Your prepper magazine is what if 911 fails? Motherfucker, why are you bugging out if you still have 911? Do you see where this is? Yeah? You see? Okay. So my favorite is dude with handgun with extended rifle and a shoulder thing and an American flag, because even though the country has fallen, he's still representing. And he's got his knife out because apparently the zombies here and they'll know you're coming, right? Stay put or bug out. Well, I'm gonna go with stay bugged. Bug put your bug out. Get your bug out. All right. So, fully suppressed range day and gun show at the Recoil CanCon in Arizona, April 10th to 12th, and the Carolinas, November 7th, 8th. Now, the cost of ammunition and deep fried Snickers bars is going to go through the fucking roof. So I don't suspect that you folks, that I think a lot of these people, you'll be wandering around and they won't all be fit like this gentleman. All the folks that will be at this thing will be buying pant sizes that are closer to like 46, 30. But I love how they're like, these are the nifty things. You know what the worst thing is? When you're prepping and you're bugging out and you're bugged out of your prepping, that your outfit doesn't match. I hate that. Like all scattered like some extra in The Walking Dead. This is an ad though that speaks to me in this. Can I just show you this one? Tops Knives. One life, one knife. It's very nice. I mean, I look, I get it. I get the skill, quality, the making of it, obviously ordered from China, but whatever. It's very, very sexy knife for the end times. But one life, one knife. And by the way, that is trademarked. So don't even think, motherfuckers, don't even think that you don't even qualify. Nah, here it is. This is, see, the Julka gotta go. Now this is, if you're gonna prep, this is the thing. See that right there? See this guy? That's the Julka gotta go. I don't know why they don't show this guy on the front carrying that on his back, unless it expands, like you pull it out and it goes shook, and it opens up like that, which I don't think it does. And then, this is what I really think is important, if I really want to. EXD translucent magazines. This is, see the yellow, red, white, blue, gray. This is so you know, like the first one, the red, white, and blue ones are your, I'm killing for America. The black ones are what you're going to standard use. And then the yellow one is like, this is my last magazine. I'm going to die. Lots of knives. And also anti-knife gloves. So, you know, you're not your own worst enemy when you try to use the shitter and you forget to put your knife down. God damn it, I had it tied to my wrist. You didn't know you needed this, ladies and gentlemen. Flat flashlights. Because some folks, you're running through the woods trying to escape the fall of society. You got a round flashlight in your back. You're exhausted. You sit down quickly to get a breather. And then retrieving it is very painful with that round flashlight. So a flat one will remain flat as far as you know. Also, let's see. I've got to make sure that we have the right... Oh, there he is. Is that Cliff? Oh, I almost saw him. Hold on. I saw Cliff for a second. Hold on. Dark that. He popped in. I think he popped in. Was that Cliff? Was it him? He should be on the mornings one. Andrea. Copy that. I'm going to send that over to make sure that he's got the... Oh, I think I see him. I see Cliff in the background. He'll join me in a second just for this... I got to open up the window for him and change the name on this because Rob Glenn will be here later because for those of you that don't know, our AI overlords have already arrived. I can show you that a little bit later. Let me fix these windows first. There he is. I hear you, Cliff, in the background.
Hey, I am here. How are you?
I'm spectacular. Give me 1 second and I'll pop you in. And...
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is. A little painful, but you'll get used to it.
A little painful the first time, but it gets better as time goes on.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, everybody develops a tolerance after a while.
Sure.
And 1, 2, 3. Pow, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm here.
Okay, there we go. I'll move you around. There you go. Excellent. Cliff Schechter joining us this fine morning. We are specifically not talking about Yambo at all.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, the only thing I know of going on today, Martin Luther King Day, and I'm excited, to celebrate and honor one of our nation's greatest leaders.
I agree, and also, the fall of society with the new issue of Off Grid, which is a magazine I picked up in the Baltimore airport to show off because the front of it made me laugh. And I was like, the inside of it is going to make me giggle at every turn. I have never, this is the new Mad magazine, ladies and gentlemen. If there is a perfect satire of our times that is hilarious from cover to cover, it's a prepper magazine.
Does that tell you how to stay off the grid in Baltimore? Or do you have to go other places?
I'm guessing you're just passing through on your way back from some sort of convention.
I sort of figured, probably, yeah.
And visiting like Baltimore made you feel like society's going to fall or whatever. I'm fairly certain, as uncomfortable as it might be at the time, every page in this is soft and absorbent, quilted even, ribbed for your pleasure. And of course,
sure. I think it's made by Mike Lindell. It serves as a pillow too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can just you blow in one end of it and it expands.
And then it offers you crack, which I find is nice too.
And I think this is indicative of where they think things are going. Primitive survival in the urban jungle. Ladies and gentlemen, they expect
there you go.
democratic cities to fall, and then you're going to roll in there and live like the penguin in a section of the city that no longer functions or some shit.
And
like
they wrote
that.
it that way, as you know, Hal, because they desperately want to use the N-word, but they thought they could just put urban jungle in there, and they can get away with what we know they're implying.
Right. Mm.
Yeah.
So it was. By the way, Patreon folks and everybody, my Flappers show has been moved from Thursday to the following week because Flappers is still dealing with the fact that some of their staff members are moving because they lost their place to live. So
Thanks.
Yeah. So there's been some shuffle around. I am going to do my next 5 shows there for free for the club so that they can help some of the people that are working there and help keep the club going. So when I perform there, I will not take a dime from the club for doing my show. And so anybody who wants to come, it helps them out. And
Where is the club?
Flappers is in Burbank. It's in sunny downtown Burbank, right in the thick of it, right in downtown Burbank.
No, I was going to say right now, I did I think I told you, or whatever. I did a live with a friend of mine who was in Pasadena. And thankfully, his house was okay, but the next block over was destroyed. So
well, that's the thing is that some of the people who work there lived in Altadena. So a lot of people have been focused on the Palisades fire because that's where. It's the alleged like rich people, not just old character actors from the fucking 60s that bought a house during the Rockford Files and have managed to live a very comfortable life even before residuals took care of people because they simply just put all their money into this thing and it's now gone. And hopefully they had insurance, but maybe not. And their grandchildren were hoping to live in that or make something of it. That's whatever. But that being the focus. People forget that Altadena is kind of like the working class version of Pasadena. And that's where a lot of the people who work in Burbank and Glendale and the like, they live up in that area because it's cheaper and there's a train. So there's for those that don't know, there is a big kind of metro train that goes from the East Valley out towards Rancho Cucamonga and all that kind of stuff, which is where the bullet train is going to go to Vegas from L.A. And so people will be able to take a maglev train there and then a train in the city and then a train down to...
That's going to be so cool for you.
It will be awesome. It'll be a 2-hour trip to Disneyland instead of a minimum 4-hour drive or an hour flight and other stuff and all that stuff.
I will say this, as somebody, again, who just... spent got back about 2 weeks ago from a week in France.
Yeah.
And took the TGV. I lived over there, 20 years ago, so I got used to it. And has been to Japan and gotten on their even more insane bullet trains. It's embarrassing here.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't, sitting here in Cincinnati, be in Chicago in 1 hour or less, and can't be in like New York City in like 5 or 6 is embarrassing, frankly.
Well,
because that's what you got going on in these countries.
Well, I also would say part of the reason is, and lest we forget, and you can tell this with like Chicago's L versus the London elevated trains that they have, is when they were built. So Chicago, it's just like phone systems in the United States. There's a reason why people in India have gotten phones faster than Americans did over the course of history because we had to lay wires everywhere. And like the New York subway system was the first of its kind on Earth. It was a massive undertaking. And so we were effectively, most of our train system, the transnational train system that we have that goes all the way up from Canada to Mexico and across our entire country was an experiment for the whole fucking world. And one of the reasons why all these trains are so much better is because they came after and they learned a lot. They looked at what failed on our end, what didn't work for a long time. Go watch old 1930s movies where trains are just flying off the edges of bridges that collapse and all that kind of stuff. And remember, when you're on the cutting edge, you spend more than anybody else, you get less than anybody else, and everybody else gets to learn from your mistakes. And America
I mean,
has
that's
always
definitely
been
true, but it is
Yeah.
important. We made a decision in the 50s with the Interstate Highway Act and some of it to really prioritize cars.
Agreed.
And you know, I mean, Europeans who come here and can't get around, with the exception of like the East Coast, Chicago, and maybe certain parts of the West Coast, are sort of like, what the hell? Because you can go to any of these countries and it's the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you're right. Absolutely, some of it are early, because you go down to the New York subway system, or Boston, which I think was the second one built. I mean, that's some old infrastructure. But
Agreed.
when it comes to these, you know, I mean, even Obama was trying to incentivize bullet trains between
Don't get me wrong.
well-used routes, right? Here to
Yep.
Cleveland. If I could get from here to Cleveland in like an hour and not have to do anything, not take my car and not bother, it would be awesome. And yet, a lot of these governors, you know, because they were following the Tea Party that's the pre-MAGA nuts, or the Tea Party, everybody, playbook, just because it was the cool thing to do, rejected the money and said, no, we're not building a train. Even if it would be helpful, even if it would create jobs, even if it would help with efficiency, lead to, you know, less crap in our atmosphere, all the positives about it. Nope, they rejected the money.
Right. Well, the issue that we have, I think, more than any other, and pardon me if I shrink for a second, because it might be an issue with my thing in this. Bink. See if I flatten. Nope.
You
okay,
didn't
it should
blow yourself up
good.
like a balloon.
No. Okay. Was it said resolution? Okay, there we go. Hopefully, I won't. Yeah. The issue that we have with those things, and I will say, did we hold back in this regard? You know, and not build trains on the same level that our international partners did after World War II, when they were bombed back to almost nothing and started from scratch. Because you have to remember, a lot of these countries, specifically the ones you're talking about, France, England, Germany, were etch-a-sketched.
That's a great point.
Less than half a century ago. So they got to start from scratch. It's like the NHS. One of the reasons England has the NHS is because it's still an emergency response to post-war collapse of almost their entire
They came out of World War II. That's
system.
Right.
Right.
Know.
I would argue that the Soviet Union, as it existed its entire time, was one giant FEMA exercise until the czars could get back on their feet and reform the thing as a modern oligarchy with a different family in charge.
It was a huge overreaction, let's call it.
Yes.
And not to say that you could have much of an overreaction to, you know, vicious dictators, but you know, there was that little nice Kerensky period in the middle there where we almost had democracy. The 6-7 months between the two revolutions, and then Lenin had to step in, and it's really never been a good deal since then, except for those 5 years where Yeltsin was drinking it up with Clinton. That was fun too.
Say what you will about the United States and our choice to go with cars and the internet, you know, and a system that allowed us, you know, maximum flexibility, which was what it was about. We went for cars instead of trains because you can never take a train off onto a dirt road and go, this would be a nice place to live. It worked.
And we had a vast open space in a manner in which we're talking about different European countries.
Right.
With the exception of Russia, which you mentioned, none of them come close to our size. So obviously we had a lot more to cover. My argument wasn't that we shouldn't have done the highway system. We needed a modern, updated highway system.
Agreed.
It's that we should have put trains alongside some of those. I think both could have been done. That's
I agree. I think the parallel track aspect of it would have been fantastic, and you would have maximized flexibility across the, you know, but you know, Route 66 would have survived better had it had a train going right down the center of it.
Right. So that's all I'm saying is I think we were a little short-sighted, and I'm sure lobbyists and blah 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 blah, and obviously cars were creating, you know, the most amazing economy in Detroit and that in certain parts of the country.
Right.
And back then, Michigan was even more important, let's say, to the Electoral College and other things. And there was a good reason to want to keep those in Michigan and Northern Ohio who built cars and car parts, and a few other parts of Wisconsin very happy.
Right.
It's always based on some of that. I'm just saying, I wish even if it was the one when Obama, you know, proposed it again. It doesn't even have to be everywhere. There are some natural routes where there are medium or major cities where people go between a lot. And we know this because we have the Acela on the East Coast. And I went to college in Philly, lived in D.C., lived in New York.
Well, maybe that's a big question.
Thing in the world. Hop on the Acela, close my eyes, and we're good.
Well, that's the other thing too. There's been so much focus on bullet trains because of China's fixation on them, and that's largely because of the big empty swaths of land that they go across. I mean, enormous countries have been focusing on bullet trains, or what effectively are borderline cities the size of a small country, which is what Taiwan, I would argue, is. Because Taipei, Taichung, and Tainan, which, by the way, if you don't know, Beijing is north capital, Nanjing is south capital, Chongqing is is east capital, but Zhongguo, in China, which is what Chinese people call China, it means middle kingdom, okay? So if you look at Taiwan, Taipei is their pronunciation of that, kind of where we got Peking from. That's the north. Taichung is the middle. Tainan is the south. They're all tied together with a bullet train. You go right through the Formosa tea fields, which is gorgeous and smells wonderful, and that's where the best tea in the world comes from. Under, in my humble opinion, Formosa oolong from Taiwan, best tea you'll ever throw a lip around. If you're a big tea fan, if you take a glass of it and you set it on top of your head, you have to be careful because your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get to it. It's that good. So, but what I will say is that they have a bullet train that goes all the way the length of Taiwan, which is one of the best in the world. But it's basically because Taiwan is a country, but it's also kind of run like one big city. That the president is kind of the mayor of this island, and it's big. It's bigger than but it's small enough where it's got parallels with Los Angeles County or something like that as far as the spread out in the income and what's going on there. So getting along the whole thing of it without having a car makes total sense. Then putting in a Japanese style train all the way through worked really well. The rest of China, it's just a way of avoiding people stopping and going, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? You need a train going. Because if you can look out the windows, if you're just chugging along on a train, it's the same thing that happens if you go on the train in Russia, way out into the middle of nowhere. You pass a lot of ugly shit, and the train is slow enough where you go, ugh. You get a good long 20-minute look at this crap town as you go past it from far away. Whereas in a bullet train, everything's just, you don't see anything.
Yeah, exactly. Your eyes can't really focus that quickly.
That's right. And so, I mean, so there is obviously the panic attack is coming fast from a lot of folks. I am not panicking as much as those around me, and not because I feel like I'm operating in any kind of copium. I think I have a much more realistic view of governance and how it works, even without the quote unquote guardrails of adults and blah, blah, blah that we talk about, that there are things that if you try to do them, never mind whether somebody tries to stop you or not, or they tell you it's a bad idea, the repercussions will suck so much that politically you will learn the hard way. And some of it you can spot. The example I would give is that Trump ran the first time on getting out of Afghanistan, never did. And the reason he didn't is because of what the exit from Afghanistan looked like in the end. It was always going to look like that no matter who left. It wasn't a matter of if somebody would die in the process, but how many. It was his plan to go out through Bagram would have been even worse, because you would have taken everybody from the embassy, drove them for 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on traffic, out to Bagram on a 2-lane highway in the middle of desert, surrounded by
there would be no
ISIS-K.
attacks coming during that.
Right? Yeah. It would have been like straight out of the Custer playbook, the dumbest fucking
the Custer
exit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Just ride right through an enemy canyon with just like Apaches on either side. It would have been so.
Just declare it the Alamo and just sit there and you'll win.
Right.
But again, I think the broader point to your point is that's everything that he did. I mean, people are forgetting. Every week was infrastructure week, which became a big joke. Every week was, we were going to what he later called concepts of a plan to replace Obamacare. Never
Still
happened.
didn't have one.
He was going to build that big wall. He built literally it was like the wall from Spinal Tap. When they order the freaking 4-inch wall or whatever, so the 4-foot one. I don't remember exactly. And they have like Like, yeah,
they wanted the slats.
The
you have to be able to see through it. They wanted see-through because bales
right.
of drugs get chucked over, and you're walking along mowing the fucking lawn, and a giant bale of drugs lands on you. So we're supposed to believe the Customs and Border Patrol told him, hey, make sure we can see through it because sometimes we're walking along and
we'd like to get shot.
Catapult barrels, like in bales of drugs, and they're crushing guys on CPP. And
actually, even like it's like, you know, Monty Python, they catapult like cows and all sorts of stuff over like
right.
horses. I mean, you don't know. I mean, the point is, again, like he promised so many things and other than the easiest one in the world because you know why I said that.
Yeah, no, I was with you.
And that wasn't meant to be a joke. That was me messing up. Other than the tax plan, which is, again, you need only 51 or 50 votes and a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
You know, it's not subject to filibuster because of reconciliation. And it's something that every other Republican who's being bought off by wealthy people and monopolies wants too. So Trump didn't even have to do the hard work on that. The House and the Senate took care of making sure that was all done. Again, if you don't sit there and do the right estimation of his laziness, the inertia that sets in, you know, when he's eating too many cheese balls and is watching like Fox and Friends, you're not doing the real equation of Trump. And I'm joking, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't get anything done. So when you're asking me the question you asked me, I mean, again, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something weird going on, but I have a sense of calm. I'm not anxious, and I don't have any panic right now at all.
Yeah.
I think it will.
There are things he will do. Yeah, there are things he will do that will be terrible, and we will need to respond to them both legally and personally for people in different states and that kind of stuff. But I would rather focus on when those things actually happen versus, you know, getting out ahead of myself and assuming this guy is going to be magically competent and able to get his stuff through, or that the people he's putting in charge of shit will equally be able to know what the fuck they're doing.
Just as lazy and addled as he is. I mean,
right.
That's the thing about Pete Hegseth is that, you know, if he looks like he'll get through, which is shocking to me,
right,
by a vote or something, because Joni Ernst apparently has no pride at all and doesn't care about any other women in the military. But that guy, that guy's going to be drunk or whatever. God knows what the hell he's going to be doing half the time. He's not going to be doing his job, you know. So I mean. It's going to be kakistocracy, for those who know the word, ruled by the dumbest. It's going to be kleptocracy. They're going to be stealing. One thing I think they'll do, the lowest hanging fruit, they'll steal all sorts of money from the public till and give contracts to all of their friends and all the stuff Trump did the first term. But in terms of the truly evil, fascist, harming people stuff, I don't think they're going to get around to most of that. And I think some of it they may even actively avoid, because you saw what happened with the H-1B visas. You know, suddenly there's a big freak out, and Trump agreed with Elon because they realized, oh, wait, we need them. Right. Well, there are a lot of dairy farmers that need folks that aren't H-1B visas that are just immigrants here. And some of them are people that make lots of money and have made big contributions. And we'll see if he's willing to go and stand up versus them and throw their workforce out.
To that point, I was going through this. I wanted to show you this as well. This is from, you know, I've been going through sort of the real statistics and stuff, and I've been arguing for quite some time that most of what we hear about, and let me shrink you down so you fit a little better into the screen there, because that's on me. It's not you.
You need me to sit up? I can get down on the floor.
Nope, it's all good. Is that, you know, most of the way, especially Republicans, have talked about immigration is this whole, like, there's 20 million of these people, and Trump is going to claim victory on, you know, I got rid of 10 million immigrants right out of the gate. How'd you do it?
Right.
Well, they weren't here to start with. It was all a lie. So I made it all up. Now they've, you know, it's like saying I shooed Santa Claus off the roof.
Exactly. We've been through this, right? Like, there'll be times where he grabs people, and before anything happens, he'll claim they're immigrants. And then later, when the press is too bored, the corporate press has moved on to its next stupid thing to pay attention to, well, those of us who pay attention will look and be like, oh, right, none of them actually were.
Right.
They either all were here, they're all documented here, or they're not immigrants at all, or they've been here multiple generations. He just made the crap up, and no one was actually thrown out of the country. This is the story of his first presidency.
This is the graph of undocumented, unauthorized immigrants into the United States from 2019 to 2022. This includes people crossing the southern border and people who come in, overstay their visas, who come in from
Which
Canada.
Which is the biggest group, by the way. People that come in for educational visas and stay here.
Oh, there's a gorgeous aspect of this chart. I can't wait to show one of the graphs that's in this because it's just so choice. But I want everybody to look at this number. The highest was in like 2006. It was 12.2. That was the highest estimated. And these are this is the outside number. This is padding upon padding upon padding. Yep. It went down a little bit ever since, and it popped up to 11. Which was 10.5 and 10.56. So they're up. They padded up to 11. This one goes to 11, but it's still below.
See, continuing with our theme.
Yes, of Spinal Tap. The little children of Stonehenge. No one knows who they were or what they were doing. Again, there's not 20 million at all. There's not 20 million. Like you would have to after the peak of this, you'd have to basically double it to get where the numbers he's talking about, and they just don't exist. So in this, we got encounters went up because of Title 42, which Trump wants to reinstate, which will drive up the number of encounters because people will try and try and try again. If you're not being adjudicated, you cannot be charted and kicked out. You can't go, oh, this motherfucker came through before. And we busted them, and we asked them what their asylum claim was. They gave some bullshit answer. We sent them home. We fingerprinted and took their iris scan, and every time they come back in, they broke the law, right? So we can put them in jail, or we have a deal with their home country. We'll get them put in jail there. And what country that is kind of crucial at this point, and you'll see why maggots are having a particular freak out about one of the groups that you and I have talked about before. That's growing in their worry. But the number of unauthorized immigrants from Mexico has dropped to 4 million in 2022 from the peak of 6.9 in 2007. Mexican immigrants have been going down because jobs, because of factory growth and all that kind of stuff. Mexico is where a lot of these Central Americans go. Right. They end up staying in Mexico, being low-wage workers in Mexico. Now, this one. It's grown in every other area. Now, when you give again, Schaumburg was once the fastest growing city in America because when you've got 4 families and 4 more families move in, you have 100% growth. And like, oh, dear God, right? It's easy to do with a small nothing number.
Per capita is sort of an important concept.
Yes. And where they grew. Florida is the #1 state of growth for undocumented immigrants in the country. Not this whole like every state's a border state BS. And where do you think they're working? You think everybody works on a golf course down there, or in hospitality, or in kitchens at Mar-a-Lago and all these other places have proper paperwork, or did before he ran for president the first time?
I'm going to go with no.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the actual immigrant numbers. These are U.S. foreign-born, and this is naturalized citizens, lawful permanent residents, temporary lawful residents, and then unauthorized immigrants. Here's the problem that maggots have. Their problem is largely with these people. Lawful permanent residents. These are folks they aren't aware, have a green card or the right to work. English is their second language, and they're not far along in it because they were brought in on a visa to work on something, and they work with a team of people who already speak their language, right? So as
far as MAGA fools or as far as they see it, they're not Americans, and
they're not going to adapt to it. The naturalized citizens or the lawful permanent residents will, or this temporary lawful residents, which is a big portion of who they come in contact with. When you meet some of these folks, that's who you're going to run into. This is who maggots think they're talking about, or like they think are this group, the unlawful immigrants. They think that's when they meet these people, that's who they think they are. And then they're going to be all mad when they're not. So look at the size of foreign-born people in the United States of undocumented immigrants. There's 11 million of them, at the highest number. There's 23% of, there's lawful immigrants, lawful residents, and temporary lawful residents. This number right here is the absolute outside exaggeration of it. Now, here's where a lot of them, this is Texas. 86% of households that have an undocumented immigrant in them have documented immigrants in them or actually, U.S. citizens. 86%. Right. So somebody lives with somebody else. It's not, they don't live, there's not a whole family of undocumented immigrants all living together by themselves. It's one person in that house who snuck in or worked there, correct, or they're the nanny in Texas. Dallas
exactly.
households.
It's not the fever dreams that MAGA fools are having. It's
right.
exactly what you would expect, like that.
Now, a little
somebody
bit of math.
working in a domestic position or something of that nature.
Right, and Tara's waiting in the background. I know, Cliff, you had other stuff to do, and I appreciate you jumping in here with me to talk about and bring this part of the conversation. But you'll notice there is an evenness between this number, the 6.9 million, and the 6.9 million here, which is other countries versus Mexican immigrants over time. So at that peak, when we had peak immigration, we had 5.3 million foreign-born people who overstay their visas, people who come across the southern border from another country, and then mostly Mexicans they're coming across. Or
I bet I can guess one of the countries folks are coming from that Elon's cool with, but some other people are kind of upset about.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm getting to that in just 1 second. Super good. You're so on the money. But I would like to notice that back when we had our peak, look at the number of foreign-born, these other countries and the Mexican country mix right there. Whereas this one's, the top number is still 6.9 million, but the bottom number was 5.3 over here, and now it's 4.0. That's why we have fewer people in the country, undocumented than we had at the peak in 2007. And what Trump is going to do is he's going to make a big show of some of the ones that are here, a couple of busloads of people he say are criminals. They're going to round up a bunch of people at, one of the encampments in New York. They're going to shut it down and bus everybody out. Where they end up is going to be, they'll end up moving to Texas or something and lying about it, right? But he's going to make a big show of it, and then he's going to claim we're down to 10 million. I cut that number in half. That's what he's going to say, because we've never gotten higher than that.
That's what he does. He lies, sets the expectahad and
every fucking time. Okay, so
and the media, again, they move on to something else, and so
Which states have had the most growth? Most U.S. states' unauthorized immigrant populations have remained steady. 6 states have shown significant growth. Florida, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, which is very curious. And that has to do with
interesting.
That's people being relocated. Massachusetts took in a bunch of these people and, during these things. And so that number statistically was important for them. And same with Maryland.
But Texas and Florida being the top 2 are kind of important, being that they're so
look at
tough
Florida's
and
number.
So MAGA-ish.
Everything else is under 100,000 up. Texas up 85,000. Look at Florida, up 400,000. But look at California, down 120,000. Here's the thing. Those folks went to Texas. They went where the house building happened, around Austin and all those other places. And as soon as they get broomed out, the cost of buying a house in Austin is going to rival or outpace California. Here's the most. Now, obviously, California has the most because it has the most people, period. And California and New York. Illinois, Texas, Florida, and New Jersey.
It still has at least, 15 million, something like that, more people than Texas? I mean,
absolutely. But it's only got 150,000 approximately more people than Texas does. It's got, Texas has 2/3 the population, but California has fewer. So per capita, it's way below. California's at 1.8, Texas 1.6, Florida's at 1.2. Again, if you go by per capita in these things, it's hilarious. New York 650, which is amazingly low. Considering the population of the state. New Jersey, that's just over the river from Manhattan is what we're talking about, and the New Jersey area. And then Illinois, 400,000. That's around Chicago and Joliet and kind of the eastern eastern side of the state. let's see, number of authorized immigrants grew rapidly from 2019 to 2022, but it's equal to or lower in the workforce. It's almost the same. And as the economy started ballooning under Biden, and as Trump saw some sort of recovery in 2020, that's exactly where they went. We replaced a lot of workers with people from overseas. Now, the number was, and shit, I don't know that I have time to dig that one up, but the country from which the second largest group of people comes from is, where is it? Son of a bitch, it was in here. India.
No way. I
Yeah.
totally didn't expect that.
What do you know?
And like MAGA people are already all
Yeah, there we
racist
go.
and angry about it. And Donald Trump is out there supporting Vivek Ramaswamy to be governor of Ohio. So
Look at this.
they're getting that won't upset anybody.
After Mexico, the countries with the largest unauthorized immigrant population in the United States are El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, and Mexico. Makes total sense. These are people who have walked here.
Yeah.
But look at India. 725,000. That is an enormous number for a non-contiguous
Sure
state
is.
from very, very, very far away. And that is going to be a curious fight point. Watch for that number to start being wrestled with in MAGA town. Just say it.
Yep. And last thing I'll
Yes.
say, because I know I need to move on out and let Tara in, and I said this, many times before, the sort of pure evil of J.D. Vance, because his racism, his xenophobia, his idiocy on this subject is really only ensuring a worse life for his own children. He is making
Right.
sure that his kids will have more people who view them in the disgusting, kinds of words he uses and did during the whole Springfield
Right.
garbage to describe immigrants here. And that is a truly soulless individual who can look at their children and be like, for my career, I'm going to make their lives much worse. I'm going to see if I can increase some racism against them. That's
Yep.
what you got going on.
The statistical rise in these groups is significant in that you have some states that fell, like El Salvador has more problems, say, than Guatemala or Honduras. These just have a lot of people who are looking for a better life. A lot of these folks, for the 675,000 Guatemalans who, came to the United States, another 2 million of them went to Mexico and stayed. So they just stay there. And then they come up here and come back, and they also, people pass away, people go back home. There's all kinds of stuff like that. But the India number is going to be a wrestling point for MAGA for the foreseeable future. So check that out and put a pin in that. And hopefully next week you can join us for the full hour there, Cliff, and I greatly appreciate it.
We'll talk. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And don't forget Cliff's Edge on YouTube, his show, subscribe, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hold on, let me bring you in here. Oh, and that's Tara. Hold on. Tara's already in here. Look at that. All right, I'll let you go. And because I have a Tara thing right there. There you go. Hold on. There we go. And then I put her in here, and then we go
I'll
into
hit
here.
the road and say thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, Tara, and goodbye,
Hi
everybody.
and bye.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Cliff. Talk to you later.
Bye.
We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Okay. Bye. And there's Tara. And by the way, so we're all just, by the way, not interested in the whatever pomp and circumstance that is going on today. Happy MLK
What's going
Day. I don't know. Happy MLK Day to you as well.
Thank you. Yes.
And, yeah.
Hi, everybody. We have some housekeeping to take care of. There's a lot of things that happened. I woke up this morning to the very sad news that we've lost Cecile Richards. Cecile Richards passed away at the age of 67. She had brain cancer. And her mother was Ann Richards, whom you should all remember. And she was just as ferocious and feisty and a shero, a champion for women's reproductive rights and for Supreme Court expansion. I was fortunate enough to meet her in 2023 when I was still writing for Occupy Democrats, and we had paired with Just Security. We did a bus tour around the country to talk to people about women's reproductive health and the importance of Supreme Court expansion. And she's amazing. And I got to interview her then. And then I saw her last August at the DNC. And if you go to my Blue Sky, I have I posted about her and a photo that we took together at the DNC. And we're just so lucky in the Democratic Party that we have so many incredible, strong fierce sheroes who stand up for what's right, regardless of what anybody else says or does. And that's what we're going to continue to do every single day, regardless of who is out there trying to silence us. We're going to continue to the fight in her name, particularly fighting for women's bodily autonomy, because that shouldn't belong to anybody but women. And the government has no place making any decisions about anybody's individual body. And I'm just so disgusted with everything that I'm seeing that I'm just going to turn all of it into activism. And that's what everybody needs to be doing.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's how
also,
I started my day today. I started my day today with an activism jumping off point, which is we're going to keep fighting. And then the second thing I saw this morning is that free speech for people is already bringing. They want a third impeachment. A third impeachment, which is something that I predicted already prior to today. And so whether or not there's a successful trial and conviction, it very much could happen that he could be the third. He could be impeached for a third time. So there are things that we can do to continue resisting and continue to hold our party
I'm curious how you feel about
impossible standards.
I'm not buying into, and I've never been a big fan of it, but I'm certainly not now going to be like curb stomping any Dems for any tactics they try at all dealing with this idiot and over the next little bit. But there was an article that kind of reflected some of the stuff I've been talking about, both myself and with Rob Glenn and other folks on the show, is that Dems can. One of the tools we have is that we can, and this is a quote from, I think this article was, shove the presidency down his throat. That there was an element of trying to stop him from doing things, ate up so much of our time last time that he only did the things he was interested in and blew off everything else. And he ended up not really stressing all that much because he picked and chose his battles and we picked them for him. And anything that, we were so busy stopping him from doing things that he held almost no responsibility.
Well, he never did.
Right.
So,
he didn't have to. He didn't have
to. Yesterday, he confessed to cheating to win the election. He stood on a stage and told everybody he and Elon cheated together.
Was good with the machines and
great machines and thanks Elon and we got Pennsylvania and they rigged the election so I can give you the Olympics, is what he said. He used the word rigged. We rigged the election. And Democrats are like, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm so fucking infuriated.
Well, it does, but I get it. But it does matter.
He fucking confesses.
Right. But
no one does shit.
What is there to do?
Well, if someone confesses to election tampering, maybe you don't swear them in today. I don't know. You can delay. I don't understand why we're beholden to a date on a calendar when we're fighting fascism, but it's too late now. It's too late because they already did it. They did it, and they did it inside because he's so embarrassed by the potential
look at Bush.
For crowd size.
I would argue we went through the same thing with Bush. The Supreme Court that Reagan and Bush Sr. put into place. Al Gore won the 2000 election. Period.
Yes, he did.
He won Florida
Yes,
by over 500 votes. They stopped the count when he had the numbers. They did the whole there was this stop the steal, and then they were like stop the count under Trump. Everything's a reboot with this motherfucker. It's the same thing. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to watch them doing this right in front of us, and Democrats collectively shrug. And again, they have no, there's no stroke of the pen in this. Again, it's the stroke of the pen fallacy drives me a little crazy. When there was something to be done, it was to be done a while back. And again, I lay it at the foot of the voters because turnout was low on our side, even with the people there. Again, if you want to talk about too big to rig and all that kind of stuff, that's what he wanted to do, was flood the zone so that they could do that on their behalf. But I still lay it at our feet. There was still a significant number of people who didn't show up, who thought Trump's better for the economy, better for Ukraine, and better for women's rights. And you ask them and they will tell you, and it's bananas, and part of it's fucking TikTok and the brainwash of that shit.
I'm so fucking over that shit. So that's the other thing that we have to cover is what we're supposed to do going forward, because there's a whole bunch of different sides to this social media thing, because social media is a blight on humanity. We've already acknowledged that. But here we are. And then there's different takes, like delete them all, don't give them any legitimacy, don't give them any money, which makes us less connected, which is what they want. They want us not connected. They don't want us fighting. They want us disillusioned. They want us scattered. They don't want us organizing. They don't want us to be, getting together and planning
I mean,
things.
I think there's
that's
illusion.
part of it.
Right.
And that's part of it, right? And so, again, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. If you want to stay on Twitter, stay on Twitter. If you want to stay on the Meta apps, stay on the Meta apps. If you're someone like me who has stuff to promote and is fighting every day to make money and is still financially struggling, I got a fluffy listicle writing gig on a website back in November, right? And it was supposed to give me a break from the political stuff so I could go there and write listicles about the top 10, fluffy things of this. And those people have been fucking jerking me around for 3 months. I don't know if I have a job. I really don't. And so right now, what I have, I'm writing for Political Voices Network Substack, which is great. That's not going to pay all of my bills. And so if I don't have this fluffy listicle job I don't know if I have it. I still have to find out today if I have it. So going forward, our livelihoods are going to be impacted on the daily. And so what we have to do, one of the things that we have to do is super support each other in a way where it really makes an impact on our daily lives. Because as they are trying to keep us down, we have to keep lifting each other up. So today, what I am asking everybody in the chat is to please support every single effort that you see. If you see it, boost it. It doesn't cost you anything to share a post or share a link or help another human being by sharing something that they've posted, which is what social media was created to do. It was created to connect us and help each other, blah, 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 and we all see where it is now. Reclaim it. Reclaim what social media was supposed to do. Help each other. That's where we are now, right? Good guys versus bad guys, whatever you want to call it. Resistance, rebellion, blah, blah, blah. It's all about helping each other. I am really, really scared personally. I'm scared about my financial stability. I'm scared about my livelihood. I'm scared about being a MAGA target. Tim Murtaugh, who is a member of Trump's staff, has been harassing me on Twitter all weekend. I won't block him. He's been following me for years. And I won't block him because he only rises up from the murky depths when I hit a nerve. And he's been bugging me for the last few days because I think he knows that I'm right about shit and he didn't like it. And so he keeps blowing me up. And so I would posit that's not okay. And all of the things that are happening that aren't okay, people attacking each other, people going after people's livelihoods, people doxing each other, people threatening each other. Those are the things that we have to shine a light on and make sure that everybody is safe. So for me personally, because all I ever do every single day is try to stay focused, stay motivated, and be able to pay my rent. And up until last week when I thought I still had 2 jobs where I don't know if I do, I was planning to move out of this apartment and maybe get a house because in Oregon, they have great deals for first-time home buyers. No money down, 100% financing. And I don't have that now. So what I'm saying is when things are as uncertain as they are right now, because we don't know what's coming, leaning into what we can do feels better than, oh my God, what are we gonna do?
That's true, but I don't think that qualifies. Wait, real quick. I'm gonna push back on a couple of things and support you and a couple of others. I will push back on the idea that the devil is a way of leaning into what you're good at or that it's functional. And I will argue that people should get off Twitter and should undermine it. It should be bot hell the way it is. And it's all it does is put money in his pocket specifically. There's a difference with Meta because as much of as Dick Zuckerberg can be and the like, it is a publicly traded company. And so there's a very big difference between making money for and with Meta than there is with Twitter. Okay, so you make money on Twitter. Anybody who has stock, and that includes a lot of unions and other stuff who diversify and have stock in companies, you make money for and with Meta, for example, the dividend goes into their pocket or the value raise goes into their pocket. everything on Twitter benefits Elon Musk, the Saudis, and Sean Combs. These are the three primary fund holders in Twitter. Nothing else, okay? The same thing with TikTok. TikTok is allegedly 51% owned by the CCP because every business in China has to be, and the other half is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company, which is all run by princelings from the CCP. And they all work for the defense industry. It's not just you're making money off of your own work within the infrastructure of this thing that lovingly exists. You're participating in an algorithm that is designed to turn people against each other and make people feel anxious and shitty. And Twitter, largely because of Grok, is now increasingly using a similar algorithm to drive anxiety and fear so that people feel like they can't leave and they can't not be a part of it, which is what TikTok did. It's not an accident that people feel that way. It is manipulated to make you feel that way. It is a fucking weapon. And in the case of TikTok, even the people who are making money on TikTok are being subsidized by the CCP because it doesn't naturally make that money. They don't sell enough ads to pay what they pay to the big creators on TikTok. They don't. It's not that big. As a matter of fact, they make more money off of CapCut subscriptions, the editing program attached to it, than the site itself. Okay, people pay for CapCut.
I never made money from TikTok. Right. I would say that TikTok really didn't do anything for me personally,
right?
Except influence me to buy makeup. It's about what it did.
Right. Well, and
that's
so
what it did. And so without it, I wouldn't spend that money.
But I'm telling you that the design is there to make people fearful, anxious, broken, scared, have a terrible opinion of their fellow human beings. And participation in that is different than being on a site that has to answer to shareholders like Meta does, or has a different set of rules about its TOS, even as loose as Zuckerberg wants to make them. Ultimately, you can still shut that shit down. Blue Sky is a great answer. Mark Cuban is working to fund an architecture, a site like TikTok that runs on the same architecture. Substack just offered, and you're on Substack. Yeah. Chris Best, the head of Substack, just offered a $25,000 TikTok Liberation Prize for anybody who can make a video go viral on Substack. So, because they have this...
let me get on there.
Yeah, right, because you have that. And there's a vertical video aspect of Substack that they're blowing up. They're also trying to subvert Twitter, because Substack now is building out, like Blue Sky has, this kind of... Twitter was ultimately stolen from Facebook. It was status updates. It was Facebook created it became status updates, and then they just literally Jack Dorsey just created a site that was only that, right? And then it grew into what it grew into. Right. Mm-hmm. Substack is basically doing the same thing Facebook did initially, which is people like these types of available choices, and they want an architecture that mixes. Substack already has this big news base, right? Because that's that's what Twitter, where a lot of people still go to Twitter, is to see breaking news and to see sports. And Substack has the breaking news aspect of it, and then somebody else is going to try and scoop up the sports shit or parallel it. The point is that Substack, again, U.S.-owned company, has to play by the same legal rules about your data and your privacy and all that kind of shit. You can make money off of it, and all that kind of stuff. TikTok does not. You can. Twitter does not. And again, I understand. Maybe I benefit from the fact that as an actor and as a comedian since the age of 14, I have never in my life benefited from what I would call the illusion of security. Every series I was ever on, you re-up at the end of the year because you might get canceled. Even if I felt like I know this is going to go the distance, it was never guaranteed. And during that time, I was always having to look for the next job during the job I was on, because everything has a limited shelf life. There is no situation where I, as a comedian or as an actor or as a writer or even producing for, little segments for Disney shows when I was in my 20s in the 90s, where I was like, yeah, this is going to go the distance. I'm going to be able to retire on this. Like, it was just absurd, right? And so I've never had that. I don't know what that is. I always have to look out and, to maybe a year, maybe 3 months, maybe 3 years or whatever, there might have to be a whole new job. I've always lived like that.
Me too.
And I'm always going to, right? And so the idea that even I could count on that or exist, or even the lack of it, the lack of security in that, doesn't enter into my thinking because I've never had it. Never gonna have it. It's not the industry I'm in. It's always a fucking hustle. And it's always gonna be a hustle. But the upside of...
And it's exhausting. The hustle is so exhausting. For me it is. I'm exhausted. Okay. I'm exhausted from constantly self-promoting and being suppressed on social media. Like, one of the things that happens anytime I tweet about my book, there's always the dipshits that come for me, and they can't hurt you. None of you can hurt my feelings because I know none of you read, so I'm not worried about that. But there's the whole people will look at how many followers I have, and they're like, "You're trying to get to 1,000 and you have 106,000 followers." Bleh. And I'm like, "Well, I'm fucking suppressed as hell. That's why. Like, I should have sold way more than 1,000 books by now. And if Elon Musk wasn't in charge of Twitter, I'm pretty sure I would have." So it's finding that audience that's going to be supportive of each other so that we can, it's what you said. I have no problem with disengaging from the evil, overlords over on Twitter. I just have, because of my personal struggle and where I am at right now in my life, I'm just concerned about how I'm getting seen, where my next paycheck is coming from. I agree, but I mean, it sounds like to me.
No, it sounds like to me though, you're like a vegan, or like a guy selling beef jerky for a living, walking into a vegan restaurant and going, "Look, they let me come in here twice a week and set up my little booth, and I have to do it for promotion."
I can tell you right now so my plan for what was going to happen after today, like my plan is to primarily post on Blue Sky and Substack. I am not re-downloading TikTok. I'm done. I'm done with TikTok. And then the good thing is that Blue Sky is right now developing an app to replace Instagram called Flashes. And once that is up and running, I'll disable my Instagram.
And the architecture is such that you own your stuff and you can move it anywhere you want. That is the future of it.
I like that
Meta did that with Threads.
I like that idea a lot.
But they've been one of the reasons they haven't grown Threads more than they already have, and why it kind of stalled out and why it hasn't grown, is because it's open source. It was designed around the kind of concept that Mastodon was very popular right when the Twitter buy happened. But there's no business model the way Meta does things that makes it valuable for them. If you open it up too much, people can leave with their shit. Whereas it should be based on features and reach, not on like a divorce where like, oh God, do we have to sell the house and divide it amongst ourselves? That's what Facebook's original model was based on. That's the same thing with Twitter. Twitter was counting on you like, fuck, I planted all these trees. Good Lord,
Yeah.
And it's I gotta, like, at a certain point, you can take a bit of inspiration from some of the people that are starting over after the fires and going, how attached was I to this stuff? Thank God I'm alive. And what's ahead of me? And the same thing's got to be true.
That's a good way to think about it.
This is
actually.
Twitter
really
is fucking scorched earth. Period. And again, if you need to sneak around there as a bot for work just to show stuff, which I don't think you have to do, because you don't even need an account to look on Truth Social's shit any more than you have to on Twitter just to engage on there. And if you need to watch something or look at something on there, but just or it's posted on a Telegram channel. That's where most of the shit shows up first, anyways. And just have a dummy account there if you need to look at things. And because nobody's making money off of Telegram right now because the dude's in fucking jail.
What I have been doing is blocking every ad I see on both Meta and Twitter. I've been doing that. I mean, I don't know how much it does, but I like to think it helps. And I'm sorry, I have like cat hair stuck to my face.
Believe me, I live that way. I get it. Yeah.
The job, it's a hazard of being a single woman. Yeah, we all have cat hair attached to us. But anyway, still preferable to most human men. It's fine.
Wow. Why'd you have to go there? First of all, I just shared the fact that I have the same cat hair problem that you do.
Why do I have to go there? Would you like to look at my social media and see what people say to me? Do you have any? It's just
Again, why am I on the
Here-
hook for
I
that?
want you to know how
as a
entertaining,
dude.
though.
Right.
Can I tell you something? There is the thing that I have been doing regarding Twitter the last few days is just being like fucking I don't give a shit and saying everything I want to say and I don't even care. Like calling people the C word just like straight up and saying like telling people to take their phones and shove it up their asses sideways. Like I don't care. Let them ban me. I'm ready. Let's go. But I want to make sure I go out with a fucking blaze of glory and letting them know they're not intimidating
Understood.
me, they're not upsetting me, and I don't care. So it's funny.
I will tell you this though.
Entertaining because they're still
counting
mad.
on that. No. Here's the thing. That's engagement. That's what he's hoping for. Because the algorithm that he's basing his shit on is anger for anger's sake. And he doesn't care what the basis of it is. It's that this is where I go to fight, and that dopamine reflex for fighting is the same dopamine reflex that the TikTok algorithm is based on for this kind of shock and outrage. And both of them are mining human emotion. And here's the thing. You don't get to biochemically turn those feelings off once you shut off the app. They're still there. And your body, I don't know if you ever heard this theory that people crave what they're allergic to. So if you're allergic to a lot of times if you crave a certain food, it's because you actually have an allergy to it and you've built up antibodies against it. And the more you eat it, the more antibodies you build, and your body balances this out. If you stop eating it all of a sudden, you're full of antibodies and your body goes, oh, fuck, we're out of balance. We need the toxin so that we don't toxify ourselves with this out of balance of antibodies or anti-serum or anti-poison, the counter to it. The same thing is true of like the biochemical exercise of our emotions. And that's what these social media platforms are designed for. That's why it's gotta be fucking cold turkey. It's gotta go. And it's and all the angst you feel of trying to promote in these areas is because you have found a place where you get reinforcement for banging your head against a wall, and all I hear from you is you're complaining of a headache. And I hear this all the time from people. It's not how this is designed to make you feel like shit. And then if you stop feeling like shit for a second, you go, uh-oh, something's coming that's going to make me feel like shit. Better to go preemptive strike and doom scroll a little while. That is the algorithm that Twitter is designed to use. It's not an accident. It's not just, well, that's the best business model. It is a hostile attack on your emotional state. And Blue Sky ain't, even Facebook isn't in its design because it's too broad and it's aimed to just keep old people flipping through and looking at basically little bits of soap opera on the video feed there. That's what that's for.
Yeah.
But it's
See,
not
this is
done.
why everybody needs to listen to you, Hal, because you have that unique perspective.
Yes.
And as I was watching the Sexy Liberal show Saturday night on the live stream, which everybody can still get, if you missed the live stream Saturday night, you can still buy it and you can watch it whenever you want. And I really recommend everybody do that because if you missed the show, what you missed was hearing all of our brilliant voices talking us off the ledge. And Frangela specifically was giving me so much life because they don't take any shit. I want both of them to adopt me and I want to live in a house with them forever. Because when I listen to Francis and Angela and they're like, they're not stealing our joy. They're not taking this from us. They're not getting away with this shit on our watch. I'm like, yes, thank you. And when you come out, first of all, I tried to live tweet the whole show, but keeping up with you is an impossibility. Right. I could not keep up with you. I tried to keep up with John. John had some really great lines. Yeah. Like every time, something about every time a MAGA says something about God, an angel coughs up blood. Something like that. Oh, every time a MAGA quotes the Bible, an angel coughs up blood. That's a great line. So, John delivered all of that truth. And then you're at the whole bit that you did about the Southern senators at the confirmation hearing. Yeah, right. Oh my God. How I was laughing so hard, no sound was coming out of me. And I could not describe what you were doing because it was so fucking funny. But
I'm very proud of it.
But in this situation, no, it's true. It's true. And unfortunately, there's not going to be another live Sexy Liberal show for quite some time. And what we're going to be focusing on now is building the Political Voices Network on Substack, which I hope everybody signs up for.
I would like to put this out there. 100 days. That's all I'm going to say for the Sexy Liberal
100
fans.
days?
Yeah. Steph may be deciding that she doesn't want to do this, but myself, John, and Frangela, we love doing these kind of shows. And so
they're great.
Starting at the 100 days mark, the Political Voices Network will be bringing you what's effectively a new version of this live show that we do, fresh and full of this stuff and whatever. So
you know what would be so fun is if we did it in Vegas so that we could get Nerd Halen to open.
Right.
And then you have the show, and then perhaps I could be on the panel.
I love it.
Because I would love that, because I haven't been on the panel yet.
We're talking about, and this is, don't hold me to it, because you can't hold me to it, because I'm going to crack the fucking whip with these people. But John and Frangela are already for it. I want to do Cobb's in San Francisco, the San Jose Improv, and Throckmorton in a little loop around San Francisco. And we will be live streaming at least one of those around the 100 days mark.
It's a quick flight to San Fran from Portland. I am.
It's and it's necessary. I am not going to. I'm not going to bend a knee during this shit. And we're, as best I can, I'm going to keep me and John and Frangela on the road with special guests. All the way through this.
Great. And then the other thing that we're going to do, and I talked to Ron about this, is get me on John's show, get me on Frangela's show, get me back on Stephanie's show, and just
Yep.
Because we're really powerful when we're all together, and we're really,
I agree.
The voices that are on the Political Voices Network are really strong, really dedicated, and
really fun.
And really fun. And it's one of those things, like, if you can deliver knowledge with humor, if you can deliver knowledge and truth with music, those are great ways to get everybody to stay motivated, because you spin it with positivity. I mean, I saw a lot of positivity coming from that stage Saturday night in the face of negativity.
Oh, yeah.
The way that Stephanie opened the show, just having everybody chant "fuck Trump," every little bit of that energy. Because what it comes down to is they hate the fact that we're so connected, and they hate the fact that we enjoy being together. And the reason they were so jealous of the DNC, because it was so joyful. And it was so energized. And when Frangela is yelling, they are not going to take our joy, you are standing up and screaming, preach, because you just can't help yourself when you're hearing this. And so I love the idea of you guys staying out on the road, doing your shows, bringing it to the people, getting other voices in and making it louder and louder and louder so that we can't be ignored. And that's the whole thing that we have to do. And they are going to do everything that they can to suppress us. And we're going to be like, fuck you, you can't, because this is still America. And we're still going to rise up, and we're still going to speak the truth. And Sexy Liberal is really going to be leading those discussions, because independent media is more valuable to us than ever before. And the distrust that we have in the corporate media, we're seeing it still every single day. So this is the destination. And even if the MAGA people keep coming back, maybe they'll actually learn something, and maybe they'll be like, hey, you were actually right about those tariffs. You were actually right.
That's right, maggots. I will be there to catch you when you fall. But that's my goal, and that's I'm gonna make. I corralled John and Frangela and Ron in after the show on Saturday, and I was like, this has to happen. It's too valuable, and we're going to continue, and by hook or by crook. It will be branded under a different name. Just know that. We're figuring that out now. But it will be an ongoing thing, and I'm going to make sure that this continues. Yes, it does.
It's really important, not just that you do it like this, but that you gather in person.
Yes.
In groups in person. And I will tell you, like my Low Bar Corral here in Portland, which you still need to come and experience that with us. It is the group collectively feeling and experiencing together, and it's not culty. What it is life affirming. and
It's
joining
companionship.
together.
It's genuine community,
It is.
right?
It's group therapy is what it is. And in the best possible way, it's connecting at the emotional level that matters about things that are important and that are real and what connects us as actual human beings. And every single time I go to Low Bar Corral, our next one's not until February 4th, and then the one after that is on Valentine's Day, where I'll be telling a story. So if you're in Portland, come see us. You can't leave a Low Bar Corral feeling bad.
Right.
You can come in feeling like, oh my God, everything is fucked, everything is sad, everything is hard. And 2 hours later, you are floating because you've been singing and connecting with other human beings. And that's what happens at Sexy Liberal. It's the same feeling, the feeling that we had at the show in LA was the same feeling we had at the DNC. It was rock star energy. It was excitement. It was joy. And they can't take that from us. There's a lot of things they can try to do, but ultimately they can't change who we are, at our core. They really can't. And I mean, that's one of the things that they want, by the way. They want us, sad and depressed and lonely and isolated, and we're not going to do that. I'm not going to stay home and isolate anymore. I did that all in December, and I'm not going to do do that again.
Good.
I'm not going to do it anymore.
Just so people know, this is specifically something that has caused John and I, back in the day when Steph went through her first bout of not wanting to tour anymore, we started the Politics, Sex, and Religion tour, he and I, and did dual shows together, which was a great time. And we had a little bit of a round table at the end of it. I think that's even more necessary now. And
absolutely.
we will be bringing, this I think we've got to ramp it up. And I think it's got to be, we're going to do it in largely bigger comedy clubs because they've already got the infrastructure for regular shows instead of having to kind of corral theaters and get into their schedule, which is always a pain in the ass. And I think part of the reason why it's been difficult to do as many shows as we would like under the Sexy Liberal thing is because of the, the theaters that are available. I do think we'll be able to do like Madison, Wisconsin. We'll be able to do that theater again and those kind of places. But I will say that we're going to more than likely show up, do 2 shows a night at a larger comedy club, so it's easier for people to get to, easier to promote, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm driving us towards.
I love it. Let me know when you want to come to Portland. Helium Comedy is a great room. Patton Oswalt loves it. Patton Oswalt, who could sell out the Moda Center, comes to Portland and plays Helium Comedy. Great room. So they could work on the
I did
menu,
their first shows there. I did their opening weekend there. When they first opened. It's great.
I think that's the first time you and I ever met in person.
It's true. So
it is. We go way back. So
I am
so ready to do this and get out in front of people and talk to people and sit down and have round tables, whether or not they're on our side or not. And I think it would be really interesting I have never really had the opportunity to sit down in person with a Republican and have a discussion. Not recently.
I think that's your show. I think you of all people,
if they would come on a show of mine, I would love that. I would love for them to
most
talk
of them
to me
would.
because I have so many
they
questions.
They like the illusion of dunking, so they would show up absolutely.
But who do you think would actually show up to talk to me? Because they all hate me. So I don't know.
Whoever hates you the most would be the first one to say yes, because that's how they live.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
That's interesting because the one thing that I have started doing is because I've been getting ridiculously trolled on Instagram. So every single person that came for me, I was like, all right, well, let's do a debate on Instagram Live. Let's go. I can press live right now. Let's go. And then they shut up really fast after that.
Right.
So I'm ready. So allow me to issue a challenge.
Well, they might not be real people in some cases.
Well, I mean, if they have like 12,000 followers, I'm assuming they're real.
No.
So with the blue check mark, not even on Meta?
No.
A 12,000 follower account with a blue check mark could still be fake on Meta. So great.
Yes, it could be a business one.
Yes?
It could be a business,
awesome.
Business verified.
Super.
Yep.
So okay,
especially with that many. By the way, the lower end, the smaller the account is with a check mark or verification, the more apt they are to be a bot in most cases.
No,
unless
I know that
they're part of a label.
But if it's somebody with like a significant following and a blue check, I'm more inclined to believe they're
Sure,
real.
sure.
Particularly on Instagram because you can see photos. On Twitter, they can hide behind all of these fake photos and you don't know. But on Instagram, you're like, oh, look, there's your husband and your Jesus-y kids going to church, and there's all your There was a woman who came for me. I never heard of her before. She's a photographer somewhere in Tennessee. You know, one of those MAGA mean girls who rises up from the ooze and is like, libtard. And I'm like, okay, well, why did you do this? And why did you do this? And then they don't answer. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's go on Instagram Live and talk about this and see who has the truth on their side. And then they block me. Right. So it's you know, and that happens all the time. So if I could get a Charlie Kirk or Jack Posashit or Tim Cesspool or any of those MAGA losers to talk to me on an Instagram Live, fuck yeah, let's go. I'm ready. Or on my Substack or wherever. I don't think they would, though, because they won't answer my questions. And I don't think, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I emailed Caroline Levitt to see if I could get an interview with Trump. They never answered me. But again, I would do it. I would do it today if they would answer. So again, MAGA kids in the chat, let's go. Put up your Matt Gaetz. Put up your Jim Jordan. Put up your Andy Biggs, your Marjorie Taylor Greens. Let's go. Get me Nancy Mace. I would love to interview Nancy Mace. I have so many questions for her that she's never answered. Let's go. I would love that. The Republican Challenge by Tara Dublin. Let's go.
There you go. Yeah.
I love it.
We'll video it and then you write an article.
Tara takes on the Trumpers. I like alliteration.
Yeah, right.
So
see?
I'll throw down the gauntlet.
Look how far we've come.
I think they're all a bunch of fucking cowards. I mean, Trump blocked me in August of 2015. Still hasn't unblocked me. Somebody yesterday was like, well, show us a screenshot from today. And I'm like, okay, here he is, still blocked me. And so, you know what I can do, and I have done? I reached out to Knight Columbia, which is the firm that sued Trump back in 2017 to unblock people because he was violating First Amendment rights. Well, he's back in office. I'm still blocked. I can sue him because he's violating my First Amendment rights, and he's violating the law. So I contacted them and I let them know that I want to sue Trump. I also want to sue Elon Musk because he's suppressing my voice on Twitter. And I want to sue Tim Murtaugh because he's been constantly harassing me. I don't think any of that is okay. They can take my case. They cannot take my case, but I did contact them and I'll be following up.
Okay, so, real quick, though, I'm curious about this because it's because I catch shit all the time.
If Tim Murtaugh would get on camera and talk to me, that'd be amazing.
Right. Define like harassing. What does he do?
What does he do? Tim, I mean, you can. It's active right now. Let's see. Like a week ago, well, first of all, he when I started talking about election fuckery, he rose up from. And again, I don't follow him back. I have him muted. I don't go look and see what he does. I don't care. He usually doesn't tweet me unless I hit a nerve. So there was, when he worked for Ted Cruz, I had written about Ted Cruz and he got really, really mad at me and went after me. So I'm like, oh, well, did I tell the truth that you didn't like? So when I was like, even, a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, this doesn't add up. And here's Spoonamore's duty to warn letter. And here's Spoonamore with Tom Hartman talking about election tampering, blah, blah. And so Tim Murtaugh tweeted me and called me an election denier. And I'm like, oh, Timmy Trumper is here to stalk me yet again. Well, how come you work for an adjudicated rapist, pedophile, convicted felon? And then he'll come back with, are you using AI because you just say the same things over and over again? I'm like, well, you won't answer my questions, so I'm going to keep asking you the same questions. And then yesterday he responded with, it must be so exhausting to be you. Shit like that. Just little. He works for Donald Trump. Right. He should not be harassing me. Donald Trump should not have me blocked. Matt Gaetz should never harass me. These are things that just shouldn't be.
Okay, so, well, first of all, Twitter is a shit posting wrestling site. Anybody who's on there,
again,
it is
we're all aware of the source.
It's yeah, right. So I don't think there is. That's like saying this French guy keeps showing up and speaking French at me like an asshole when he knows I speak English. I mean, I don't.
That would actually be preferable. French is sexy.
It can be. Tu parles français?
Oui, je parle un peu. Je étudie français.
Petit peu.
Pour 5 années.
Tu parles français comme une bouche espagnole.
Je ne le record. I don't remember the French. Don't know much about the French I took.
Right, gotcha. Right.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, fuck that.
Okay, so I don't view that as harassment. I feel like you walked into a ring, started throwing elbows, and people are throwing elbows or yelling shit, and that's just what the place is.
If I don't tag you, I'm not talking about you. If I didn't
Yeah,
send for you and you still come for me, that's on him. That's on him.
But
That's not on me.
it's still in the feed of stuff or whatever. Like I get, like, again, that's not going to qualify as harassment. It's not going to show up as harassment. If he doxes you or something like that, you might have something to say. I'm just saying anything shy of someone doxing me or trying to attack my family, or showing pictures of my house online or some shit like that.
Well, he's not going to do that. He's
Right.
not going to do anything that's outside the law because he's already been to jail.
Right.
So he doesn't want to go back. It's interesting that so many people connected to Donald Trump have served time.
Sure.
Just weird. And again, the main point is anytime he comes for me, I let him know that I'm not scared. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to intimidate. It doesn't work on me. He's trying to make me upset. It doesn't work. I'm not scared of him. And one of the things that I say to him is like, I don't know what you think, like your boss is a fucking coward who blocked me almost 10 years ago. Like, why are you proud to work for that? Like, well, okay. And he's like, well, you just keep going. I'm like, well, you're not going to shut me up. Like, I just want them to know they can't push me around. That's the point. There is, and that's what matters. Like, if it's somebody with that kind, like if he is literally sitting next to Trump a lot of the time. And I'm like, okay, here's the screenshot of his block from 10 years ago. Tell him I said hi. Tell him he's a fucking coward. Tell him it was me that said so. Tell him, fuck you from me. Because I'm not scared. It's just, you have to let them know that they don't get away with the shit that they're trying when they're trying it. Not the bots. I don't care about the bots. That is a real person who is at the right hand of that fucking fascist felon. And when he comes for me, it's important that he knows that he's not getting an inch. And it makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel powerful when he responds to me. I don't tag him. I don't go after him. And one of the things that I even said to him was, I forget that you exist as soon as I'm done with you. Do you understand that? Like, I don't care about your existence. You care about mine. I love that. He gives me power over him when he comes for me. And that's what I told him. So, and I said, you can't deny the things that I say. You can't deny he's a convicted felon. You can't deny he's an adjudicated rapist. You can't deny he stole documents from the White House and sold them to our enemies. So you come back with, it must be exhausting to be you. Ooh, what am I? Oh, I'm so intimidated. Oh my God. Every single chronic MAGA masturbator that comes for me, none of you are intimidating me. You're entertaining me. So maybe you should stop. I don't know. At this point, I'm entertained by it. I'm not scared by a bot with 17 letters after its name saying, you're an ugly transgender man. Okay, sure. What do you think I'm going to do? You think I'm going to cry? I'm not crying. I am not crying at all. So it's important to me.
I will say this.
When someone,
we talked about this. Hold on, though.
Does this shit.
I'll address this at the beginning. You did start with how exhausting it is to deal with it, and it is. And you do have it does have an emotional tag attached to it.
What I said was that it's exhausting to constantly self-promote myself and not really get anywhere, and that's what I mostly use social media for.
Sure,
because
but
in my
social
mind,
media is an abstract. We're talking about Twitter in particular, and I will say that
what I want more than anything is to just focus on this and literally nothing else. I want to make The Sound of Settling into a streaming series. I want to release the sequel. I want everybody to love this book. As of today, I've sold 983 copies. I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah.
Let's get to 1,000. TaraDublinRocks.com. You're not taking this away from me. No one can.
Right.
And I love this so much, and that's why I get emotional, because this is what matters to me. This is my livelihood, and this is my joy. You don't take this from me, and I will fight for this. I will fight for this to my last breath, just like I will fight for my country. And I will never, ever give up on fighting fascism, because that's not what we do. And I may not go back to Twitter after a little while, and I may leave it because I'll have a better place that's more hospitable. That's my choice, and I will make that choice when I have decided that I'm done. Which I'm close. I'm very close to it.
Sure.
It's just I need to get through. I'm going to give it the first 100 days. That's actually what I was thinking about before you even brought it up. First 100 days, and then make the decision if I make it that long on Twitter. But for now, it's where do I do this? How do I tell people about this? How do I make more people aware of it? And then how do I get an agent so that this becomes my primary focus instead of the other shit?
Right.
And that's what I would have had if we got our win. If Kamala and Tim had been, allowed to serve as they were rightfully elected, as I believe, we would all be able to focus on the things that make us happy, which is this for me. So I'm still going to focus on that. And, in the first time he was in office, I did everything that I could to focus on the things that made me happy. And it was a really hard time in my life. I was working in the service industry and I was going through perimenopause. And then we went into a pandemic. And then I went through menopause and a pandemic. And then we're dealing with what we're dealing with now.
Right.
So, it's all about how we're all getting through. And we're all getting through together. And I hear everything that you say. But when it comes down to it, like, you don't pay my bills, I do. You don't have to get up every day and live my life, I do. And so the choices that I make, maybe they're not always the right ones, but I have to make the choices that, are going to keep me getting out of bed every day. And so, from this point forward, it is, like you said earlier, and I was listening to you, holding them accountable, but not, but making sure, like, again, not curb stomping. I heard you say that. Leaning into what makes us happy and supporting each other. And I think that's going to be the thing that keeps me sane as we continue to, like, I wish I didn't. There was somebody who posted something like, I wish I had the luxury of not having to pay attention. That'd be amazing. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
No.
But we don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of not paying attention right now. So while we're paying attention, we can still do good things for ourselves and each other.
Yeah,
That's what I want. I
guess
we have to find a new balance in a new normal that we have to create for ourselves and each other in an abnormal situation.
Right. I just don't. Okay. Maybe I'm pathologically averse to it, or it's a driving force, but I don't do boredom and I don't do exhaustion. I allow myself to get tired and I'm allowed to get sad, but I don't.
Yes.
But not an inch further. And in most emergency circumstances, or the more serious things get, the more we have a phrase that has come down through the centuries in my fine Irish family, which is we will cry when the march is done. And,
I like that.
And not before. Because if you have the ability to walk forward, if you have the ability to step forward at all, you are so far ahead of everyone else that you have a responsibility to do it. And you also, if you can keep your wits about you, you have no right to give those wits away to anyone that, that's what the Bible calls it, pearls before swine. And if Twitter was renamed properly, that's what it would be. That's why I stopped posting on there. Because it was pearls before swine.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm never going to say you're wrong about
it. It is financially beneficial to everyone that owns Twitter. The Saudis, Musk, and Sean Combs. Like, if you are on Twitter, you are helping Sean Combs pay for his defense. If you are on Twitter, you are supporting the people who threw Khashoggi in a fucking wood chipper. And if you are on Twitter, you are supporting Elon Musk in his effort to chip humanity and drive this country like it's a business and fire the poor and basically make every categorical, empathetic response that every Democrat and progressive and liberal has effectively a crime. Period. I don't care that there's an upside. I know people who made money on TikTok who are killing it on there. And every time I saw them, I was like, get it off your phone. It's fucking malware. There's other ways to do it. There are always other ways to do it. And the price is too high emotionally, morally, to engage in that shit. Period. End of story. And the quicker you move on from it, the quicker you start developing the better path. It's, digging in a dry well doesn't get you any closer to ending your thirst. And the minute you stop and move to a different location, you're at least not digging in that futile dry well again. It's just that
there
in and of itself is a victory.
There is an alternative to TikTok called Fanbase. Called Fanbase, and it's black owned, black developers, and it's similar to TikTok in that you can post videos, but you can also post audio. You can do other. Right. It's kind of like a combination of Instagram and TikTok. And because it's black owned, I immediately want to support that. I'm not going back to TikTok. I'm definitely not. Especially it's just such obvious fuckery where it was like, it was actually I took 2 screenshots because. I tried to look at it before it shut down, and the screenshot said, it's not available, and we're working on it, blah, blah, blah. And then an hour later, the same message then said, used Trump's name after that. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, motherfucker, this is all just a scam. This is all just performative bullshit.
Right.
It's going to come back, and he's going to take credit. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. And again, I think, I had almost 7,000 followers on TikTok, which is like, so what? And the most views I ever got on a video was like 20,000, and I never did better than that ever. And despite my best efforts to get my book to go viral there on Book Talk, it never happened. And so I don't see the point. I really don't see the point. Again, I never made money from TikTok. I only ended up spending money, so that was stupid.
I would argue
Fanbase seems better.
In your case, and again, never put all your eggs in one basket on any social media situation. If anything, somebody in your position should be using buffer and sending it out to nearly everything except Twitter. It's got to go. I will say, got to go. Period. End of story. All it does. It's like this whole I want to get in there and fight with everybody, or this is it is built on the substructure to put money in his pocket. Period. End of story. It is his only company that doesn't use government contracts. If you don't count the money that XAI gets from government stuff to build that facility in Memphis, that he's basically building tax free. There's no purpose, none whatsoever. There's no upside to not getting out immediately and start battening down the hatches. There are other options, and then your focus would be better spent there, period, end of story. Other than that, I have no opinion.
That's the thing I love about you, Hal, is you just don't have any strong opinions about anything.
Yeah.
Any way the wind blows,
I'm fucking wishy-washy. And by the way, for the record, I would like to say, as we come to the end of the show, I'm wearing a King's X shirt, as some of you may know, from Out of the Silent Planet. Now, I have T-shirts from several King's X albums. Why this one today? Because there is a song on this album called King is Coming. And in the video for it, which is one of the most beautiful music videos I've ever watched, there is this little black kid who's being tormented by these kids on the bus in his mixed school, and these 2 little white kids become his friends, and they grow up to be a 3-piece band with a black guy and 2 white guys together making some of the most beautiful music that rock has ever produced. And that video itself...
So the story of King's X?
Is King is Coming. This is...
All right, I will download it as soon as we hang up.
And it was... it's one of those songs that I just have always loved, and the video itself is just beautiful to watch, and I would love to play it on here, but I'll get a copyright strike, so I will leave it to everybody else to watch on their own.
All right, well, I'll download it as soon as we're done, and I would also say that after you're done listening to that song, you should listen to Heroes by David Bowie. It is my favorite song. It's tattooed on my arm, and it's...
I sang it at the jam a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
There's video of me singing it online.
Nothing.
So,
we can beat them forever and ever. We can be heroes just for winning. So,
that's right.
And we will. And we will. So
and let me tell you,
the
rule is
The Sound of Settling.
Yes. The rule is you can have your emotions, and we're all allowed, but we do not give them away. We value our emotions enough to feel them and we value them so much that we don't let people hijack them. They don't get to steal
That's
my
right.
empathy. They don't get to make me a nihilist. They don't get to exhaust me. They don't get to break me down. They don't get to dictate when I feel secure and when I don't. They don't get to. I'm not going to give them that room ever. And the idea that I should, on some level, share in a collective fear because other people have acquiesced their emotions to the other side, I find absurd, ridiculous, and I will always push back on it. And if it makes people think I'm an unfeeling, stoic prick sometimes, good. Learn that lesson from me.
I love you.
Learn that lesson from me. Because anybody who, yeah, oh, there you go. Is your phone
Doing it? There it is.
There it goes, yeah. Stick up for your own emotions so that you get to use them for you. Other people don't get to have them.
I have always, I mean, the thing with me is I'm a feeling person. I've always been a feeling person. And when you can hear it in my voice, and you can see it on my face. I can't hide when I'm feeling something. And when I care about something, I can't help it. I can't help how much I care about stuff. And sometimes my enthusiasm for things that I love can be off-putting for other people because I come at them with so much energy. Like, this is great. This is my favorite thing in the whole world. Oh my God, it's so exciting. People are like, whoa. But I don't want to lose that. I don't want to stop loving things or stop being excited about things. Like, that's who I am. And so I'm a feeling person in a difficult world at a difficult time. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with having feelings. And that's the thing. The thing that the MAGA cult has been taught is sleep is for the weak, which it isn't. Feelings are for the weak, which they're not. And so everything that makes you, they basically want them to lose everything that makes you human. And I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to lose what makes me human. And if it drives people away, then they shouldn't have been in my life in the first place, is the way I see it. Like, I'm not for everyone, but those who stick around, like, I'm a devoted friend, I am loyal, and I will fight to the death to protect everybody that matters to me. So,
this is
a 1,000,000% total insane inaugural speech. I'm shocked to hear that. You mean You mean he didn't come out and profess love for all humanity and tell everybody he was going to take care of us?
Yeah.
How many people did he threaten? How many negative? I have no awareness of what he said, and I like it better that way.
Yeah, we're fine.
So, yeah, I'm good. I'm good to never know what he says. So, of course, it was batshit insane. He's batshit insane. This is what we have to focus on when we move forward. It's like what Rachel Maddow said was ignore what they say and watch what they do.
Right.
And the whole hair trigger rage cycle started with, can you believe what he said? Well, everything that he says is designed to piss you off. So, I mean, again, it's just all about, like, you can modify your reaction to things. You can. Because you have choices. You have choices about how you respond to things. You might not be able to control other people, but you can control how you respond to them. So, he made a batshit speech. So he did that yesterday. He does that every time he makes a speech. Every speech is batshit. Everything he says is batshit. So it needs to be more about, what are Democrats going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do to make sure that he doesn't get any batshit laws passed? Like, how are you going to make sure he doesn't make our country batshit? What are you going to do? So that's why we have to watch them and hold them accountable, right? Because without the curb stomping, like, I see you
sane,
doing
sexy,
this.
and charming. That's what I'm going to do. That's my battle plan.
Okay, sounds good. Sexy and charming works for me. That's what I try to be a rock star every single day.
Sure.
So here we go. Let's go.
Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Tara Dublin Rocks on the blue sky. Look, a thumbs up. Tara Dublin Rocks 1 on the Instagram while I'm still there. Tara Dublin at Substack. Tara Dublin on YouTube. Just everybody subscribe, like and subscribe, and do all of those things. And I also have a Venmo, but the most important thing in the world right now for me is getting this book into the stratosphere. We're only 17 copies away from selling 1,000.
There you go.
1,000. And, anybody who wants to bag on me, I think people who have never read a book shouldn't bag on people who write books. That's just me, though. So we'll see where we are in a week.
Yeah.
I hope by next week at this time I'll be able to say I have sold 1,000 and some other number of copies.
I can't wait to hear the like.
And we're gonna go on the road. I'm going on the road with you and John and Frangela.
It'll make. We are going to make that happen. That
Yes,
has to be. It is a moral
please sign
imperative.
up. Also, while you're signing up for my personal Substack, please sign up for the Political Voices Network Substack as well, because there will be different content that I write there,
including
as well
my
as
Saturday show, a version of that with a secondary, we're going to try and do like a commentary aspect of it and stuff, where I can do the show live, and then on the Substack there will be the articles that I'm citing and all that kind of stuff attached to it. So if people choose to write, if we're going to use Substack for the Saturday show, I'm still going to do it on YouTube and other places for people who are regular there. But if we're going to add it to Substack, what value will be added to the Substack will be that anything I'm talking about when I've got articles up and all this stuff, it will be concurrent to what you're watching at the time. So we'll put it up there as I'm talking about it. All the links that I'm discussing and things will pop up there, for people to download and read on their own. And eventually I'll have an AI that does all of it. It'd be great. I'm building one right now.
AI is the devil, and I will never use it personally.
You're a silly person.
And by the way,
and
when
no, it
you
isn't.
go to TaraDublinRocks.com to check out The Sound of Settling, please also rate it 5 stars, because last week on January 6th, 2 different MAGA bitches went over to my page and left fake negative reviews. That's fun. That's super. That's great. If you read it and you don't like it, that's one thing. But if you read it and you do like it, that would be better. So It's the Political Voices Network Substack. It's just go to Substack and search Political Voices Network. You should be able to sign up right there.
Right. Awesome. Okay.
Okay, everybody.
Much love.
Be safe. Be good. Take care of each other. Remember that I love you. Mm-hmm. And we're going to make it through together.
That's right. All right. Thanks, Tara.
That's what it's all about. Love you,
Appreciate
Hal.
it. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There she goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I always feel like the show becomes an intervention these days when I have some folks on in this regard. And let me tell you something. I'm not speaking flippantly when I am talking about the emotional management stuff that I'm talking about, because nobody needs a weeping EMT. And the more serious things are, the more value you have if you can maintain in spite of it and in the face of it. And so nobody gets punished for going through what they're going through by any means. Feel your emotions, because that's how it should be. But indulgence in a circumstance of anything beyond that is morally reprehensible. It's wrong. Just like taking on anyone else's stress or fear. Doing that, which I feel like people try to do to show empathy and sympathy for other people that are going through things, not helpful. Understanding it, totally fine. Usurping it, totally wrong. And people often will come up to me after a comedy show or a conversation like this, and they'll go, "Well, that's just your opinion." Well, fucking A right it is. It's my opinion. That's what I'm here to tell you. There are thousands and millions. As I've always said, opinions are like assholes. If you tell me you don't have one, I know you're full of shit. Think it through. I think it's brilliant. But the point is that there are plenty of areas where you can go and people will reinforce the anxious, fear-based, worrisome, navel-gazing pity party that exists whenever anything doesn't go people's way. That's not what I do. It's not ever it's never ever going to be what I do. I'm not here to placate people's self-indulgent emotions at all. I'm here to entertain and inform. And when it comes down to my own personal opinions, again, you found your way here, and you're welcome back anytime, and there's the door. This is always how it has to be, because my opinions and my beliefs and the work that I do as an artist only have value if you choose them. You choose them, you share your time with me. That's what gives it value. If people were forced to watch or listen to what I had to say, it would have zero value. Same reason your mandatory religious clothing is the least godly thing you can do, because I have no idea if you actually believe what you believe. Mandatory language rules around issues and the like, where you have to use the proper language to know that you're on the team, also can be false, because, again, anybody can just use that as a costume. And so because I'm on as long as I am, and because I do shows like I do, and because the length of my show is such that I have plenty of room to expound on things, thanks to the Patreons for allowing the Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning show to exist. Because of that, you can check if you can go beyond the jargon and know I stand by what I say, and that I say what I really mean. And if I don't know something, you guys can watch me go look it up. We'll hunt it down together. And you'll see often that even if the details shift around from what the commonly accepted knowledge is, it doesn't mean your ethics have to shift. They can incorporate those new details, or reject them, I suppose, if you don't believe them. But your belief systems, your ideology, your spirituality should be able to take any attack that comes, because all it can do is sharpen it. All it does is make the steel harder. STEEL, just for the record. And, and look, the only excuse anybody ever has, I think, for not living up to their standard is, of course, if they are being tormented by the kidney, in which...
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
No shit. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the memberships. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for following me around. Thanks for subbing and resubbing. Thanks for sharing the subs. No, you cannot have my liver to eat with the fava beans and a nice Chianti. Tell them I said hi. Thank you, mods. Oh, look at you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for sponsoring the show, guys. Thanks for making it happen, turning it into a real thing. It's fucking heartwarming. Yes, you can use a gift card to buy subs. You just have to enter it into Twitch or YouTube, I think.